are listening Fratelli D Rugby Podcast. Enjoy.
Come ZEBRE'S Dreaming, Treviso Nightmare. You are Sirine to review. I'm not alone. We are not two. Today we are all of them. Three. Here we go. Mike, Marcello. Buonasera. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Hello, boys. Good to be back.
Hey, good to see you. Yeah, mate. Good. How you doing? Otto? You good? March, you been good?
Yeah, mate. Good. Life's been busy, but starting to settle down now. So hopefully,
Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. So a lot to talk about this week. A lot of good to talk about this week. A lot of bad if you're a Benetton fan as well. So, Otto, how do you want to structure it? March, you got any ideas how you guys want to do this?
I think probably starting with Zebre first. Now, I think rightly so.
With the
Go on,
good
boys.
stuff for the week. Okay, guys, we are here, and we're happy to have seen a lot of people cheering for Italy this weekend on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on X. Sorry, not Twitter. On podcasts talking about the victory, the win, the epic win by Zebre against Munster. Guys, have you watched how many times you already rewatched that game? And which one was the key of this game? How everything was so perfect, right? Because to be honest, that was like a kind of a perfect game. Something we always hoped for Zebre to happen, like scoring, not a lot of turnovers in the opposite 22 and whatever. So, your thoughts?
For me, I think I can pinpoint it down to one thing, and I think the difference, obviously, other than execution and that side, I think you might mention it in the chat as well, but it's the kicking that was absolutely spot on. Full score when they're in trouble, box kicking, and box kicking accurately to touch, monstrous kicks, and then obviously clearly now with Fratelli, Montemauri, and the others capable of kicking the back, Trulla with that beautiful touch finder as well. Like it's clearly starting to click from a kicking standpoint, but I think that for me was the major change. It's not necessarily the amount they kicked, it's how accurate they were.
I'd put it down to a moment really where that game sort of turns. I think sort of Munster score 2 tries towards the end of that first half. They end the half well, and I think, with all due respect, most of us probably think that second half, if Munster come out and score again, more than likely a good chance that's sort of game over, and Zebre are left trying to fight for a bonus point again. But the Trulla interception sort of turns the game. I think if Munster sort of use that attack and score, I think it's probably game over. But the fact that interception, try scored sort of right at the start of that second half, that was sort of the perfect time to score, especially after sort of the end of that first half. So I think that was a big moment in the game. Honestly, I think everything just does go right. It's one of those games where everything goes right for one team and maybe the other team is slightly off it. With all due respect to Zebre, if Munster are sort of top of their game, they're a very hard team to beat for anyone that good. That's not just for Zebre, but if Munster are on top, it's a big ask. So I think them being slightly off it and Zebre sort of being right at the top and everything goes right. That was it was the perfect storm really. But like I said, that moment after half time that Trulla scores that interception, that was probably the turning point, I think.
Which is also one of those moments that usually was always penalizing Zebre, like attack to try to get back into the game, and then maybe some easy mistakes by the attacking Zebre used to bring to a try scored by the opponent team. So yes, it was perfect. Mike, you are the one that is writing down the Fratelli ratings for the game for our Patreon. So you wanna just to push a couple of notes out for everybody about the.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, I'm going to start with the one where everyone, you know, might be a point of contention with the man of the match, because there's probably at least 3 legitimate people who could have been, and I don't think anyone would have had an issue with. So I'm just going to pick one, which I think was Samuele Locatelli, who I gave an 8. So obviously, just for context, there's probably going to be maybe 2 people who have a higher score. I won't say who they are. I'm sure you guys can probably speculate yourselves, but I put that continuing his impressive start to the URC, Locatelli was in the middle of every momentum turning point, in dirtying the ball and turning over possession in dangerous areas. He was a real focal point for a lot of. He will be a real focal point for a lot of teams moving forward. And I think a few more games, such as last week's, he'll be a real bolter to be picked up by Quesada ahead of the autumn internationals. So, just to give you a little snippet, that's sort of context. It's very opinion based, but there were some players who just popped up everywhere. And again, for context, second URC game, insane how he was.
That's crazy. We made a short about the permit players, and yes, we were expecting to see Bertaccini starting too. There was some issues at the beginning during the warm up, so came on Gregory, and Paella was back too in this game. What was your man of the match? The guy that shined the most, or the one that showed you the more improvement in this game? I can say that a couple of players, even when they came from the bench, they were really good. Dare for me was good. That flat pass to Trulla that allowed him to the line for the line break, and then the pass to Prisciantelli, that was nice. I love those kind of passes from a 10. But in general, one guy for me was really, really good, guys, because always waiting for him, which is Trulla. Maybe for me, Trulla was really like the mature game, the game that you want to switch, the switching game. I don't know how to say. Mr. Gang Trulla. Yeah, the celebration.
He's clearly worked on those, isn't he?
The way to celebrate, yes, of course. Yeah. He was ready for other 5 in his pocket already. Eyes in the ring.
I think in if you sort of try and compare it to like fantasy football and stuff, he scores 2 tries and gets an assist as well, doesn't he? So arguably he's involved in 3 tries, scores 2 of them himself. So he sort of grabs it on terms of stat sheet wise, but Fusco as well. I mean, Fusco as well is definitely sort of the one for me. I think we've been hoping to see this sort of performance from him. We want to see him contributing and scoring. Any 9 that can snipe like that. I mean, I was surprised. You don't expect to see that from a side like Munster, to be that sort of disorganized, and to be beaten like that once in a game. You sort of think, okay, fair enough. But to be beaten twice like that a couple of times, it's quite rare to see, especially for an Irish side who are usually so well drilled. But yeah, Fusco for me was really, really good, and hopefully you can see more of those performances, a bit more game time, and he just adds to that mix again for Quesada to think about someone that maybe was falling out of favour, but with a new coach and stuff, you never know. So these performances like this, especially at the start of the season, are massive, especially heading into November and forward.
Yeah, it was a good time for a lot of the players to find form. I'm going to go with you. You guys went with your man of the match, obviously, because I'm writing these up. It's going to be quite obvious for those of you guys who are interested. But I'm going to say who I think was probably the most improved. And again, it was a bit of a cold-faced performance. It's not necessarily something that it would have been really obvious to people unless he was following them. I thought Scott Gregory was on point in defense. Obviously, not just stats wise. It was when he was able to actually get those tackles in. And again, I said about Locatelli finding himself in momentum shifting, periods of the game. Gregory obviously there was the odd mistake, but in terms of most improved for me, that was probably his best Zebre performance as well. So, hopefully we see a little bit more about that moving forward, I think.
The first turnover, tackle and turnover, it was really good by Gregory at the beginning of the. And something interesting is that the Zebre ended up with Gregory Paet at the centers.
Yeah,
which is something that we never seen playing together. They ended up this great game, so pretty interesting. Couple of other question for you guys. How much? Because I was looking at Phantom now. How much is the team, and how much is the staff? How much there is of one and on the other one in this win for the club?
Go on, March. You go first, mate.
I think it's always both, isn't it? I don't think it's ever one or the other. Maybe a little bit more sometimes with coaches because you have to have the right game plan. Everything that Zebre did seemed to work. It seemed to work against Munster. It seemed to be like maybe we outthought, Zebre coaching perhaps even outthought Munster's coaches because it didn't often look like Munster really knew what was going on. A lot of the time, it sort of they didn't seem to be that well set. Like I said, if you get beaten around the fringes twice, it's obviously something that maybe Zebre have looked at and maybe something Munster have neglected to look at. So you have to look at that and think that maybe they spotted that as an area of weakness. Again, the quick ball and just quick counter attack. I mean, it's become sort of Italy's thing, hasn't it? Maybe what we saw in the Six Nations as well was playing with quick ball and being incredibly efficient, incredibly effective, and trying to hit teams quickly and sort of catching them out. So I think it worked both ways. I think it was brilliant. The game plan worked brilliantly. Played in the right areas, attacked when we needed to, and caught Munster out. So I think it's probably kudos to both. But coaches can only produce a game plan. The players have got to go out there and produce the goods. So big applause for both.
Yeah, if I can add my 2 cents there as well, I think for me, I think they got the balance of the leadership really nice this game. So obviously Fischetti started as captain, but then you had like Licata come up and he was like putting his body on the line, and like these are all ex under 20 captains. Ruggeri coming on, and he had a really starting. He had Ferrari also coming on. Like the blend of the leadership team was like really quite nice, and it really epitomized when I think it was just after the Trulla intercept, and Fischetti was giving everyone a bit of a dressing down. You can see he was pointing at everyone. It probably wasn't. It was more a motivational thing, but like he when you point at someone to hold them accountable. You don't, if in a team sport, you never really point at anyone other than like, this is your job. This is what you need, like to hold people to account. And I really like to see that. And it really looked like as context of the game, I really think that as these young players learn to be in those tough positions, right, and they know how to be in the trenches with one another, it's the leadership which is going to pull you through, because the game management stuff, that's experience that you learn. And there's been 2 seasons of tight losses, and there's been 2 seasons of heartbreak and disappointment, and it's just nice, I think, that the impact players did more than just run around like lunatics. It was, Ferrari is a really good example. Otto, where he just came on and you could feel his presence.
Players.
Yeah, he let himself know. Cameron with his with his new feud. Oh, it makes me laugh.
The inventor of the Uipulotu, am I right?
That's right.
The cavolo,
actually.
Right. One could have been Italian. So weird to think now. A couple of tactical points here.
Just a quick one. Would it be
Tuipulello?
Tuipulello.
Tuipulello. Meno un po' tu. Something like that.
Anyway, sorry about it.
No, a couple of tactical. So yes, around the rack was sloppy in those 2 occasions for the Fusco to score. That really surprised me too. Another thing that I was, I don't know, kind of expecting from Munster was trying to put more pressure on the pod, because we were able to play like behind with the pull pass a lot. And last week, she did a lot of job just running hard, closing the gap, closing the opposition pass outside. And a lot of times, Zebra were able to create like a really positive multi-phase. They were going backward. And with Munster, this didn't happen. They had a really good moving forward momentum many times. They were able to just release the pass on the back. It looked like a really simple kind of attack, nothing too fancy, but it was really well like played when they were playing on the back pass, the flat, attacking the line in the 1-versus-1. So something really, really simple, but this time the efficiency was there. That's something that probably we will hope to see more by this team, because last year we were here maybe talking about the victory against Sharks. It was so great. Then we didn't have so great like series of victory one after the other one.
That's what Ireland did so well for so long. Like, it was always a simple way of playing. It's always a simple way to attack. But if you're consistent with it and you perfect it, we've seen how hard it is to stop. Like, you know what's coming. And whenever you played Ireland, you always knew what was coming, but they always got it right every single time. And there was Sexton there pulling the strings. It worked every time. And if you can be consistent with it, which is difficult in its own right, but if you can be, it's such a simple and effective way of playing. And like I said, I think for Zebra, it all just went really, really right. Everything sort of went to plan. And yeah, it sort of used the Irish way of playing against an Irish side, which is nice.
I think that's a fair comment. One thing that I'm really excited to have noticed, right, from the first game, and I think after, obviously, I know we're going to transition into Benetton soon, but one thing that we mentioned last week is the best teams adapt, and Zebre really struggled to adapt against Cardiff that first half, where ball was slow. You can point your finger to whoever. I think it's well documented enough. If you wanted to point your finger at a player, there's that. But it's also how well they protected the ball. Like, it was a like almost like a visceral reaction that they needed to protect the ball. So much better, clear outs, quicker ball. Like, they managed to play, and then when it was slow ball in the right places, they kicked, and it was good kicks to compete, and the kick chase was good. They adapted to what was in front of them, and to an extent they did that against Cardiff in the second half. It's just, maybe the tempo was slightly better for them. The conditions were nice to play expansive rugby, and they just adapted better than Munster did to that situation and that scenario. And I think, you can. Munster fans are upset, but
that's why. No, the situation was pretty sad for them, even because last weekend against Connacht was a kind of similar game, like fighting. Even if until now, the best attack is Munster for a lot of stats. Looking also on the URC official website, Zebra is the second one at the moment, which is funny to think, because it's the last one in defense on the opposite side. And with Zebra, there is also Benetton, which is worrying at the moment. But anyway,
Quinn's won a championship with bad defense, mate. We're just
going right. If you can score 40 points a game, then defense
is like Zeman.
All right.
So in Italy in the 90s and early 2000, there was this coach from Czech Republic that used to coach Foggia, crazy team Foggia. Nobody was there, but they used to score four goals every time. The top scorer and everything, but then they lose the games like 5-4. They didn't care about defense. They were just attacking. It was welcome to Zemanlandia. This looks like Zebrelandia. If they keep doing like scoring, I don't care. I'm gonna keep scoring. The good point on defense is the fact that only 6 penalties this week too. so they lower really down the rate of penalties in defense, which is always nice to see, because Zeb last year was a pretty mess, 10, 12. So if you are low on 6, it's good. Bortolami used to say 6 should be or 9, something like that, should be really the average maximum, whatever you want to call it, like what you can do, no more than those.
Didn't see that from Benetton though this weekend, did we?
No, this weekend, absolutely. Let's see. A couple of things here, which this is interesting, Claudio. Someone wrote that Zebre kind of played like Italy. Did you agree on this? Morisi was the Brex, was the full passer. If we have to find a player in the line for Zebre.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, obviously we kicked a lot. We utilized box kicking a lot more than I would say we probably have done in Italy. Maybe I can't. I've got to be honest. I can't really remember the summer all too much in terms of style. I don't think it changed too much, but kicking has increased under Quesada, but Zebre were using like the kicks to get out of trouble a lot, and it was to success a lot.
Well, guys, let's move on. Sadly, on an unexpected nightmare, or let's say an unexpected bad second half of Treviso against the Warriors, because how the things were going in the first half, I can say, okay, not that bad, 14-7, but then the red was the nightmare for them, because everything was gone, any opportunity was gone. So shall we talk about the first half and then what happened after that? Because how you want to manage a game like this, right? Because you have this first half when you were like, the turning point was that forward pass, guys. I think
it's like before Christ. It's like instead of before Christ, it was before SS.
Man,
before SS.
See, the moment, what happened in all that situation? Ratave went off for injury. Odogu scoring, guys, that try was great. Forward pass or not, they moved so well the ball, but penalty against in the scrum, line out, multi-phase scoring by Glasgow, 14-7. Crazy how it turned in 5 minutes the game. But then Scrafton, guys, did you agree with Red? We talked a little bit with Mike during the live stream. March, what do you think about it? You did.
I think it's one of those where I think he knows what he's doing. I don't think there's necessarily a lot of intent now. I don't think he's, we've seen a lot worse in terms of like a player going into a tackle and trying to knock someone's head off. I don't think he's going in there to knock someone's head off, but I think he knows that he's going to check him. I think he's intending to block him, and then if shoulder to head is always going to be that, so you always run the risk. So I agree. It's a definite red card. I've got no issues with the red card at all. There's no real defense for it. It doesn't matter whether he intended to do it. It's just a case of it. If you're going to go and try and do that and try and check someone and try and leave something on someone, as we call it, you try and leave something on somebody. If you try and do that and you get caught to the head with a shoulder, then there's nothing really to defend you, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's tough, right? It's just like you said, it's tough to defend. It's a red card, mate. Like, no matter which way you look at it, it's tucked. There's no attempt to wrap. It's direct to the head. It's always high level of danger. Like, pick any one of those two and it's a red card, and it's all of the above. So it's reckless. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we're probably gonna, and I'm hoping we don't, but I think we're probably gonna see that cited. And then the question is, okay, so where do Benetton go from here? Obviously, back to you, Otto. I know we spoke during the live, and you said we've got a couple of players coming back to be excited about. So for those guys who don't know, who do you think is going to fill that Scott Scrafton-shaped hole?
Man, I really love the way Favretto start the game. I know was silly the yellow card that he got in the second half, because come on,
It's just an
but
experience, wasn't it?
man, was good. Like you can see how he wants to show himself, to prove himself in the field, waiting for Yakitsi to come back too, and of course we have Rutsa. I don't know how many of those players we will see soon, like against Leinster. I was looking at Instagram today, and the Cannones brothers, they are in Tuscany hunting, doing off-road stuff. So I don't know how much they're training, and is Monday, right? So
I can't
on that,
on that quickly, just for context. I think I might have mentioned it on the last pod, but I vaguely remember them saying that they weren't available, or some of the team had a 5-week stand down. They weren't available for 2 weeks or 2 games. So
why is that?
some of the
Is that from the summer?
I can't
Mike,
remember.
I don't
So
know.
I
You
think
know why? Because I see Spagnolo and
Yeah.
Leinag were there. So I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
get it.
Spagnolo played a
how
lot
it
as well
works.
last season. Yeah,
He
I don't
played a
know.
lot, and he played this summer. Leinag
Yeah.
played this summer, and he was there. He played already the second game too. So
Yeah, I
So
don't know.
Yakitsi and Rutsa, are they both injured?
no, they're out.
Yakitsi,
Nothing
yeah.
else, I think.
Yeah,
So those
Lamaro,
two, and the Canoni brothers and Lamaro, they're all just
Brex and
fit to the
Menoncello
town.
too. So maybe they're gonna add a few minutes on each of them. Maybe the
Yeah.
next game we're gonna see Lamaro 20 minutes and then starting.
To
I
answer your
guess
point
that's
very quickly, just before we move on, that I don't know if it was because of like amount of minutes played or whatnot, but I'm pretty sure it was from a Quesada interview. He was the one that mentioned it. So I don't like.
He said that many times he wants to manage the time of the international players differently. This year, talking with the two teams, so
Yeah,
the two franchise.
Well, I mean, everyone does it, don't they? That's been the case with club sides in the URC for a long time. Like Irish clubs have been doing it for a long time in terms of they manage.
Yeah,
minutes.
we remember
No,
to
they
see
can't-
Sexton in the spring, like the migrant birds or something like that. They go to
They
Africa
wrap
and then
him.
they
They
come
wrap
to
him in
you.
cotton wool, and then they say sit down, and they
Exactly.
bring him out for Six Nations time, and then he goes
Like
back.
Mr. Barnes, in the same
Yes.
way. A couple of things on let's say on what we can say of this game in the first half for Benetton. So a couple of issues around the attacking breakdown, and I don't know if it's connected to Senegal new approach of the breakdown that has to be like improved with time, because they have the new breakdown specialist, or just situation where is always isolated the ball carrier, or at least only one support. Like we saw a good carry by Favretto, there was only Maile. Another one where we did a couple of pick and go, and then the last one was with Isekor, and Isekor was juggled. Another penalty in attack. That, and in defense, we really suffered the set piece situations. Leinag a little bit too up in a situation. We've seen how they find the space, even with the disallowed try for them. They found a lot of space. That is a little bit worrying. What's your thoughts about this? Counting that now Leinster is coming, which is another team that can strike really hard, like last year they did from Southeast.
yeah.
Struggled a bit last season as well, didn't they, Benetton at points? And last season it was defense really good, attack was a little bit scrappy, and I think in the first game it was a case of pummeling away at the line, and it was a case of we didn't want to use the backs. It was very much last resort when it came to backs, especially in round one. And then it felt a bit like that at times, and it did feel a bit like that times last season as well. It just hasn't clicked, but I can't imagine that with all the players out, it can be a bit disorganised, and that's just what it looks like to me. It looks a bit disorganised. It looks a bit rusty. And
Mike,
perfect game to come back to it with Leinster. Wow,
perfect game. But go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, I just want to quickly answer your question. I think for me, I think Benetton needs to sharpen up quickly, like you said. Shallow in D at times, too tight. Miscommunication, doubling up on tackles that don't need to be doubled up on, creating like a 3-on-1. I think that happened 2 or 3 times. The best teams adapt. We've said that, and that's true in life, right? So they've got this week. It doesn't get easier from here. So like if they want to be competitive, if they want to, compete for the playoffs, and they want to go further than they did last year, and everything that we've heard, they've got time. But the next step is Leinster, and they're going to have to do something pretty impressive.
Wondering who you think is going to be playing this weekend from, let's say, the nationals. Who is the guy that you want to see now in the field, because we need that guy more than another one? Is it Menoncello? Is it Brex? So there is some issues in the backs, or we need leadership, Ruzza, Lamaro. What we need,
I want to be really clear, right? I thought that was Zannon's best game, like I've seen. I genuinely do. Maybe when he was a lot younger, but I can't remember a game that he played better than that. So it would be harsh to say that we need Brex and Menoncello, but then the level that's coming is going to be, it's going to be a step up. Let's be honest. So, I think Zannon actually deserves a little bit more game time. So whether one of those two are on the bench as impact players, great. But I think Lamaro is needed for leadership. I do feel like they were a little bit lost, especially after Scott got sent off. I think it was tough. Seb played a great game, but he was brilliant at 8. Just to call out our mate Seb, but it was tough watch.
March, question for you and for Mike too. Marin or Umaga next weekend at 10? We want to give a chance.
It's what you think about. I mean, you've seen teams do it, playing the likes of Leinster before, where they think, well, do we try and play our strongest possible team to try and stand a chance of winning, or do you maybe rotate a little bit and pick your battles, so to speak? Leinster's a tough one. So I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see Marine a bit more. I watch Umaga, and I think there are bits that I like, and there are bits that I maybe don't like all that much. But I think Marine, I'd like to see Marine get some minutes. I'd maybe even be inclined to start him maybe next weekend, but that's probably where I'd go with it, potentially.
So putting this Phantom, Marine is not playing well. So let's have a conversation about this, because is it probably because we need to see him starting, and so he doesn't have to follow a plan, follow something that is already happening in front of him, instead of starting from 0-0 first kickoff, and okay, now I'm gonna manage these 40 minutes. Mike?
Yeah, it's a good question, mate. I think Marin is a player who, again, we got to sort of take into context. He's 22. He's not like a George Ford who can watch and sort of analyze what's going on and sort of see what they're doing different and go in and sort of try and change a game. Sometimes you do just need to feel the game, and obviously this is where maybe March can talk about that sort of stuff slightly better than I can, being a back. But when you're in a position where you're having to make decisions, sometimes it's nice to dictate play, and I think sometimes some players can't do that. But it's sort of unfortunate for him that he's so well-rounded that he could, he's a utility player, almost like, Lazowski in some ways, where like if he had to come on, he could play multiple positions, and that's almost what's like stopping him starting, if that makes sense, because if there's an injury, he can slot into everywhere, which we saw, right? We saw like this week gone. So he's one of those where that's almost like his defining issue, is the fact that he's so well rounded, he has to sort of play everywhere. But yeah, he's a young player. I don't think he's not. I disagree that he's playing. That he's not playing well. I think we've seen what he can do at his best, and that's what we're comparing to. It's the start of the season. He's a young kid. Do you know what I mean? That's my opinion on it anyway.
Don't think you can say anyone's playing badly after 2 games.
Agreed.
And especially when you consider the circumstances Benetton found themselves in last weekend as well. Like, it was hardly ideal circumstances, and it's almost the curse, that utility back thing. It means that you don't have that sort of position that you're in, but you can play across a multiple. Then it's like, if you just keep getting chucked in different weeks in different positions, you never really sort of get that consistency. And as a back, that's what you need. And always coming off the bench, it's not ideal at all. Like you said, the whole like adapting to a game and being able to adapt, watch it, come on and adapt, that's very much an experience thing. Without that, and Malin doesn't have that as a 22-year-old, he needs to play games from the start. And then but like, you can't say someone's not playing very well after 2 games, especially the 2 games he's been involved in. So it's a case of consistency for him, which is the same with all young players. You can't really expect them to progress and develop if they're not sort of consistently getting some minutes. So
it's that old adage of jack of all trades, master of none type thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, everybody's waiting for Albornoz to be probably the number 10. Yes, of course.
Everyone is now waiting for Albornoz, seeing what he can do now. Everyone is waiting for him.
Maybe this week less, because he scored a try, but they've been beaten really badly by South Africa, Argentina this last weekend, and not like 2 weeks ago. But I have a couple of other questions for you now popping in my mind. If you have to switch one, let's say 2 players now for the next weekend for what they show in the first 2 weeks between Benetton and Zebre, who you switch? Who you need that player, like Benetton need that player, or those 2 players from Zebre and vice versa? Who do you think is a player that maybe was playing with the other one?
Franchise. Switch from the franchise. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good question.
Like, let's say, was better to have now Fusco this week for Benetton or not? If you have to pick.
If I had to pick, I genuinely would say the people who influence the game the most, like the people that have the most involvement. I think Locatelli would have done really well. I don't know where though. maybe have Isakor on blind side and instead of Zuliani, let Zuliani come off the bench because we know he can play that position. I don't know. This is such a hard question.
Very hard question.
Man, the easiest question.
Go on.
You know why?
Give you answer it. Then go on.
Put Canal instead of Scrafton so they don't get the red card. Easy.
Oh god, nice. Yeah, fair enough. Right, fair enough.
Marcello, do you have any?
Well, yeah.
That you...
Well, with Benetton, it's a case of organising. I mean, when you go down to 14 and you're in the position that Benetton were in, needed someone really that was going to be able to organise and almost a bit of leadership, maybe. So I don't know whether maybe Fisco, if you swapped him around. I don't know, because the Benetton scrum was getting absolutely pasted in that second half, really, ultimately, wasn't it? So I'm not sure he'd have done much there.
Without the
quite difficult.
So hard.
You could ideally say that you could put all of ZEBRE'S players in Benetton's position
last
really,
weekend, which is the first time, right? The first time we can say something like this completely generally, because we have this big victory, still everybody happy about it, which is okay. Next weekend, Leinster. And next weekend, Stormers too on the other side. So 2 games that actually they're both really hard. Now, everything, Zebre won the game against Munster, but consistency, my opinion, even if you lose with bonus point scoring and closing the game, is still a positive outcome, I guess, from this game. And if Benetton is able to stay in the game, getting 1 point, still positive for what we've seen, I guess.
I think just being competitive would be a start for Benetton. I think potentially. After when you lose like that, you have to put in a performance that sort of almost picks everyone up a little bit. So chips are down, everything's going against you. It's not been a great start to the season, all things considered. So difficult. Munster is really tricky, really difficult. But I think, like I said, I think we often come to this conclusion with our sides that when they're playing the big teams, coming away with a point, taking something from the game results wise, Benetton really could do with some points on the board. I think Zebra now have enough in the locker. They've got 6 points from opening 2 games. Ultimately, after 3 games, if you said you can have 6 points, they'd have bitten your hand off for it. So they're probably in a good position. Whereas the pressure's now off, and there's, they're going into it great confidence, massive win. So I think they'll be confident that they can do something again. But Benetton a little bit backs against the wall and a little bit sort of crashed down to earth at the start of the season, which is difficult, especially.
Sorry, my connection went down. I missed a piece.
No.
Well. Mike, yes. What you were thinking?
Can you hear us okay, yeah?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Cool. So basically Marcello mentioned that, I think Zebra are in a good spot is what he said. Obviously there's 6 points after 2 games, and I went on record on Kaelin's podcast that it's going to be a good season for them. I reckon they could potentially end up top 12. I think that'd be a good result for them. Who knows, mate? Maybe they surprise us all, finish higher. But I think for Benetton, to answer your question, I think 1 point loss is, as long as it's a result of a good performance. So like they're trying, it's a positive thing. They're trying to win. Like if it's a loss, so similar to what we said on the first week where they went for the draw. If it's a positive loss, and that's a weird way of saying, right? But like the performance is nice. They're competing at set piece. There's not scrum dominance. There's no silly red cards. There's no silly little decisions. We're not leaking tries. It's a competitive 80-minute performance, and they go for it and they still fall short. I think everyone can accept that. Like as a fan, as long as you see your team try and give everything for the jersey and fall short, you accept that. So yeah, I'd be happy with to be honest with you, mate, I'd be happy with 0 points as long as it's a competitive game and they improve on what they've done the last two games, because it's Leinster. Like, I know that sounds stupid. I'd be happy with 0 points as long as it's Leinster. Like, we've got to be serious about these things, right? Like, they are this behemoth.
Yeah. Well. Anything else to add to this last weekend? The women didn't play well actually against Scotland. They lose badly. We can talk later on when we are more in the game. And one of the news from the week, we spoke a little bit about it already, is that is being confirmed as a new coach, Dave Cisi, for the line out, and he's hanging his boots. So one of the Centurion of Zebra. So good for him. Good luck, Dave, our first guest on the pod.
Yeah. Day one.
Crazy, I think. Day one. Dave was there. Actually, probably this week I will cut some from that first pod talking about Zebra, because it's 1 year and a half ago. So
the passion that he spoke about Zebra as well. Like he was just always going to be coach material, wasn't he? So good on Big Dave. Il frigo,
the fridge.
Frigo.
Yeah. Now you have to actually be careful about Il frigo, Dave. You
maybe
get a padlock, my friend.
Now lock the fridge.
Now that you're not playing. No, like he's such a good man, and I'm really happy, and I think we said it before. If you look at like his resume, he's one of those people who is fairly sort of inconspicuous about how much he's achieved and who he's played with and like the environments he's come in with. So like the amount of experience he can share to those young players, even winning, the under-20s World Cup and all that, just like he's got bundles of experience, right? So yeah,
hopefully
let's see.
soon here.
Yeah.
Odogu or Mendy, Gallagher or Smith, asking Phantom. We're gonna see this week how the stuff will go, and we're gonna have more info about Gallagher. Let's see when Mendy will fit, and probably Odogu will start because Ratave may be injured. We don't know, and we didn't hear anything about him. So maybe we'll start. Maybe Linag need a break after. It was a little bit tired, Linag. Let me say in this couple of
Robert's
games.
last message.
Yes.
Stay
Yes,
tuned,
really.
my friend. Stay tuned.
Yeah, and also
Oh, the
Robert
one underneath that is what I meant, but that's funny.
Yeah, but this is funny because it's weird to think, right? But let's see. Anyway, guys, 51 minutes in. I think it's enough for the week because if not, we can talk so much about the first victory of Zebre. We want to talk less about Benetton this week because it wasn't the best, of course, but we hope to do a really good performance. And don't forget to reach our Patreon. You can also sign for free. You want to see some stuff, and maybe you want to sneak in for less than a pint a month. Listen us on Spotify, every platform, and follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, of course, Il Tricolore, Italian Rugby Forum, Rugby Gocciotto, Tavernella, actually. On X with all our contacts, and that's it, guys. Hope to see you soon, actually next weekend, next Monday, to speak about rugby, and let's see if we're gonna be able to do some other live streaming and more guests coming on. So stay tuned with us. Marcello, Mike, ciao. See you really soon, my friends.
Buonanotte.
Ciao, raga. Buonanotte.
Ciao.